Let's talk about 5 unconventional ways to reduce your blood pressure. Now, I hope you recognize after seeing some of my videos that I don't repackage conventional information. I won't tell you things like get better sleep, cut your salt, okay? Things that are largely ineffective or represent misinterpretations of the science. What I give you, I believe, is very powerful information and effective strategies that really work and pack a wallop. Because I know personally, I'm very irritated when somebody gives me a teaser title on a video or a paper, and it turns out to be just a bunch of fluff, a repetition of things I already knew. And so I won't do that. I'll give you information I think that is unique, that you typically can't get anyplace else, and that really works. So what are 5 unconventional ways to really reduce blood pressure powerfully? Number 1, get rid of the gliadin protein of wheat and related proteins of other grains, especially the proteins in rye, barley, and corn. But essentially banishing all grains from your life. Why would that reduce blood pressure? Because the gliadin protein is a very powerful cause for sodium retention in the kidney. It's so powerful that the first day you get rid of all wheat and grains, you diurese, we say. You pee, you urinate sodium in water, so much so that occasionally people pass out. That's how fast this can happen. So when you do that, blood pressure, of course, drops. There's so much water and sodium loss when you get rid of wheat and grains that I urge people to drink more water, hydrate better than usual, and even salt your food, even salt your water very lightly. Because if you don't, some people pass out in the first week or so, and you don't want to do that. If you're on blood pressure medicines, you need to get off them or have them reduced. Best to work with your doctor. Sadly, most doctors have no idea what to do and how to manage this. So ideally, if you have a functional medicine or integrative health doctor who can help you, for instance, wean or taper a beta blocker like metoprolol, atenolol, carvedilol, those can't be stopped. They have to be weaned or tapered. Likewise, clonidine, another blood pressure medicine, has to be weaned or tapered. So ideally, you have somebody to help you, but don't be surprised you're on your own, but just be very careful. Know that this works so well, banishing the gliadin protein of wheat and related proteins and other grains, that's so effective, you can drop your blood pressure within the first 24 to 48 hours. Another good strategy, cap your net carb. Limit your net carb intake per meal to no more than 15 grams net carbs per meal. Now, net carbs is a simple calculation. With any food, you need the total carbs and fiber. And that's because fiber is listed as a carbohydrate, but it's not metabolized like a carbohydrate. And so you can subtract it. So let's take a 7-inch medium-sized banana. You look it up, 27 grams total carbs, 3 grams fiber, 27 minus 3, 24 grams net carbs. Too much. It's going to contribute to insulin resistance and thereby high blood pressure, even though it is a rich source of potassium. So the net effect is rise in blood pressure. So we don't eat that, right? So we cap net carbs, no more than 15 grams net carbs per meal. Add magnesium. You and I drink filtered water. We have to. You can't drink water that's freely running in a river or stream or lake, right? But that water in a river is running over rocks and minerals and is therefore rich in minerals like magnesium. But you drink filtered water. Either the city filters it or you filter it in your home or both. And water filtration is very effective at removing virtually all magnesium. If you look at the instructions or the guide that comes with your water softener or your water purifier, you'll see it removes 99.9% of all magnesium. And we rely on mass-produced vegetables and fruit, which are lower in magnesium than wild plants or organically grown plants. So for those reasons, we're all deficient in magnesium. But if you supplement magnesium, you can get wonderful effects in reducing blood pressure. But you want to choose a highly absorbed form. So highly absorbed forms of tablets are magnesium malate, magnesium chelate, magnesium glycinate, to a lesser degree magnesium citrate. We try to get around 500 milligrams of the elemental magnesium, that is the magnesium itself, not the total weight of the tablet. But if you want the best, most effective magnesium form to reduce blood pressure, it's my recipe, very simple, for magnesium water. Simple reaction between milk of magnesia, unflavored, that's magnesium hydroxide, and the carbonic acid of carbonated water, like seltzer. So you'll see the proportions in the recipe. In my recipe for magnesium water, you'll find that in my Wheat Belly blog, my Undoctored blog, each and every Wheat Belly book, except the cookbooks, and my Undoctored book. I put it just about everywhere so you can get a hold of it. Also tells you how to dose it. And you build up slowly. If you can get to 8 ounces 2 or 3 times a day, you have a magnificently effective tool for reducing blood pressure. Vitamin D. Because vitamin D contributes to insulin sensitization. It makes you sensitive to your own body's insulin. It helps track blood pressure downward. So we try to get your 25-hydroxy vitamin D blood level to 60 to 70 nanograms per milliliter, typically requiring 5,000 to 6,000 units of oil-based gel cap. I say oil-based gel cap because that form is assuredly absorbed. Unlike tablets, which are very erratically absorbed and sometimes not absorbed at all, or drops that typically generate very erratic blood levels. So your best choice are oil-based gel caps, and they're very inexpensive. Now, you always want to get a blood level eventually down the road. Like if you start today, maybe get it 6 months from now, but no sooner than 2.5 months because it takes that long to plateau. And you aim for, in my view, 25-hydroxy vitamin D blood level of 60 to 70, and that's where it contributes to reducing your blood pressure. Lastly, intermittent fasting. This is particularly helpful up front. The benefits taper off over time. But when you fast for a minimum, typically 18 hours, ideally more like 36 hours, 48 hours, that's where the real bang comes in, where you start to lower blood pressure a lot. So much so, just like eliminating the gliadin protein, you've got to anticipate a drop in blood pressure if you're on blood pressure medicines. So once again, it'd be nice if you had a doctor who could help you or somebody knowledgeable who could help you, because the beta blockers and clonidine cannot be stopped. Though other drugs like ACE inhibitors, like lisinopril or quinapril, or ARBs, angiotensin receptor blockers, those drugs can be stopped, but ideally you work with somebody to help you do this. But you have to anticipate this, because fasting reduces blood pressure so magnificently that if you're on a blood pressure medicine, you could pass out. Okay, you don't want to do that. You want to risk no hypotension. But fasting, the longer you fast, after about 18 to 24 hours, the more your blood pressure will drop. Even though you should be hydrating, and you should be salting your water lightly, okay? Because you lose salt. The most common reason for failing at fasting, feeling lightheaded, nauseated, etc., is failing to hydrate, failing to get salt. I should also mention that if you are diabetic, type 1 or type 2, please see the extended conversation in my books, What to Do There. Because once again, you have to cut the dose of insulin or other drugs right away, even before you start fasting, because you don't want hypotension, you don't want hypoglycemia either. But that ideally is done with some kind of supervision. Put all those 5 strategies together, and what you have is a hugely powerful collection of strategies that synergize with each other. And in my experience, it's uncommon to not be able to get off blood pressure medicines. It's uncommon to not have a dramatic reduction in blood pressure. So a lot of us in my programs have blood pressures of 102 over 70. That's the kind of blood pressure you want on nothing. That is on no prescription drugs. If you like these conversations, I invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel below. And of course, join my conversations. I have several thousand of them on my Wheat Belly blog, my Undoctored blog. And if you want the encapsulation of all the programs I have, I just recently released a new book. It's a Wheat Belly revised and expanded edition. It contains all the ideas of all my books in one, and including in a program that you can do, a menu plan, recipes, as well as the rationale for why this works so well.